is finally here. Legend in the Mist. Can I love this game? I feel like I'm gonna. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to the channel. This is the Sacred Art of Gaming, where we love talking about tabletop gaming, and I have been experimenting with some different types of games, like Powered by the Apocalypse and games like Fate. Now, the idea of tags has always intrigued me, but I'm yet to fully embrace a game that really depends on it. So here's our little, hey, join us for journeys, blah, 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 blah. Thank you for buying the book. And this will kind of give you ideas of what we're going to unpack today. So I got the Legend of the Mist core book for the hero, as well as the narrator. But I also got the action grimoire, and when we get to that last, I'll talk about why. So let's begin. This is the sleeve for Legend in the Mist. Although nice, I'm typically not a book sleeve kind of guy. But the standard book I think is just also great, but at a minimum in a house with children helps keep the book clean. Action grimoires, obviously nothing crazy like that. And then here is the core book, or the narrator book. That's what that looks like, and it's because on the end here, the narrator, which honestly I kind of like. I think gives it a little bit of personality. Feels special. The hero book, it's the complete game rules. That's really all you need. You've got a 50-page learn to play comic book tutorial, which we are going to skip because I do not want to spoil that for you. I thought it was brilliant. It's actually a big part of the reason that I bought the book after that experience. All kinds of character creation tools, support, story-driven character evolution, and an 8 ready-to-play ways of magic. Great. And then the narrator book, complete guide for narrators. We're probably going to spend most of our time in this book. This feels like support for what I would be using it for. Lots of pre-made challenges, journeys, etc. All right, cool. And then there's also a starter adventure, the Heap Thing of Skunk Glen, so we will not spoil that either. Probably the main reason I got this was the solo or co-op mode oracles. We'll talk about that when we get to it. All right, so the core book, a lot to unpack here. First of all, let me just say that this might be the most beautiful book I own. Just opening it right here, and all of this just continues throughout the book. My God, and I've got some beautiful books, but between the art and the layout, I think this might be the best one. Land of Eam comes to mind, Wilder Feast comes to mind, but I think this might be top notch. Yeah, I think so. All right, so this is the graphic novel, which we are going to skip. But this is kind of, to give you an idea, this is what it's like. And, it's a little bit of choose your own adventure, teach you how to play the game. Really cool. All right, so here's the introduction. It's going to give you an idea. So what kind of things you need to play. This is going to be a 2d6 system that is kind of Powered by the Apocalypse inspired in a lot of ways, but it's almost like Powered by the Apocalypse and Fate had a baby. And I don't think I'm the first person to say that, but I came to the same conclusions myself once I learned more about Fate. I did not get the pebble dice, but I kind of wish I did. Those things are adorable looking. One thing that I don't know if I'd say it bothers me about this game, but I'm just kind of it just adds another obstacle for me, is how they use these cards instead of a character sheet. We'll talk more about it when we get to it. I do love there's a lot of support in the game, not just here, but also in the margins of the book, to help you coming from other RPGs. I think they learned from probably the people that bounced off of City of Mist and maybe their other game, Otherscape. But they're just letting you know, hey, this is a narrative game. These are the things that are different. There are no stats, only tags. There's even some guidelines that assist you if you're used to a more traditional D&D type game. Yeah, on one dice roll to rule them all, and it's powered by tags. Now the default setting for this is rustic fantasy, where it's all about the little things, small heroes it's about small heroes from out of the way places who discover their great destinies or not, and it's about small heroes who face their great perils often beyond their power or understanding, and other stuff too. But it's not just rustic fantasy. Here's some other defaults: Our Little Corner of the World and An Epic Journey. Grit and Politics or Dungeon Crawl. Dungeon Crawl would be interesting. I love this page. The narrator book also has a in a nutshell narrator page. But yeah, this I think is awesome. As I show you this book, keep in mind I am a tourist when it comes to this game. So something like this, I can't fully appreciate it yet, but I feel like I'm going to. I understand how the dice rolls work, I understand how the tags work, but I could probably play the game as a player. Could I GM the game? I think that's where I would struggle. And if you're soloing it, you kind of have to GM and play. There's meat on the bones here for sure. Like when you think of a narrative game, you think that it's like a rules light game. And that may be true, but the rules are in different places that make it a little more difficult for someone like me anyways to wrap my head around it, because I have to like rewire my brain in some ways, my lizard brain who just wants to see strength, dex, con, +1, +2, etc. Roll under systems, a little easier for me to transition from that to roll under or even D100 or 2D6 or whatever, but all this stuff makes it a little more difficult. So we were talking about the character sheet. There's really no character sheet. There's a hero card, which is like this. Just has your name and a little bit of background stuff. But it's like the beauty of the game, but also a strange thing for me. That's not like your full character sheet. There's your hero card that just has general details. There's 4 theme cards that are 4 main aspects of your character, and then there's your tracking cards. But it's really these theme cards. With them not being on your character sheet, that means your character is able to grow and evolve as you potentially lose those cards, change those cards, add to those cards. I think that's why that is the way that it is. And I think I'll get there. But it is a minor obstacle for me. And here are some examples of theme cards. So something like Devoted to Family, this being the type being devotion, or skill or trade, skilled with a bow. And you'll see that there's these little tags that go with it. Looks like it's always 2 positive and 1 negative. So I think this is great. Father's U-bow, rapid second arrow, but close combat, that's gonna be an issue. Now, as we go through the book, notice there's all this fun stuff on the sides that just gives you a little bit of extra flavor. The art is excellent. I love the usage of color and highlighting throughout the game. It's excellent, 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 excellent. So any difficulties are not because they are explaining it incorrectly. It's just my own personal bias and what my brain is willing to accept. So this goes into the theme cards a little more. So you've got the different theme types: origin, adventure, or greatness, and within those there are individual types. So like for origin, there's circumstance, devotion, past, people, personality, skill, or trade, and trait. For adventure, there's duty, influence, knowledge, prodigious ability, relic, and uncanny ability. And then for greatness, there's destiny, dominion, mastery, and monstrosity. Then you've got a few that can fall into anything: companion, magic, and possessions. Might is something that I kind of conceptually understand, but I don't have a full understanding of it yet. My general understanding of might is that when, let's say, an enemy has a certain level of might, regardless of what I do to it, I can't affect it because of the difference in might between the two of us. As we go on, we may get a little bit more in the details there. Yeah, probably page 171. And they do give you like tons of examples, which I really appreciate. Tons of examples here. And then for hero creation, there's a simple way, just writing it down, the quickest way, and then the detailed way. There's also going to be your backpack, which will have story tags, which are kind of like temporary, that they go away when you rest, or you can like bring them back if you choose to do that. Nice little hero creation checklist. I love that. I love all these little sidebars. They tell you where all of the theme types are. You can dive into them more. And then here's a list of all theme kits. Now I think the majority of the books, in my opinion, is going to be filled with stuff like this, which is appreciated, but just know that there's a ton of examples of stuff. It is a beautiful book. Here's some different tropes of making themes magical. Yeah, I appreciate that. So I'll give you some tropes with some sweet art. I don't think we're quite at the Fellowship yet. There's some strange creatures, I dig that. And then now this is gonna start going through, we're gonna go through this rapid fire here, but circumstance for the origin theme book, and it gives you all these theme kits, and it's going to continue to go through all of them. There's devotion. Skip ahead here for now we're in adventure. Here's relic, uncanny being as a few examples, and then we'll go to the next section, like greatness, which has destiny, all these special improvements and dominion, and then here are our general ones like companion, magic, and there are some preset magic types in the game, and then possessions. Then there's the general store. Now this I thought was interesting because of the tags and seeing how the character sheet is built out, which we may have skipped over it. There is a fellowship card as well, which is really just like your group. Almost think of like Blades in the Dark, how you almost have like a separate character sheet for your gang. There's a fellowship card is for your group. I'm sure it'll come up again. But yeah, so for the general store, like I'm seeing that there's these tags for like, there's armor tags, shield tags, weapon tags. I kind of assumed that like items would not be like super important, and maybe they still are not, but I am seeing that there are specific tags for them, as well as, you know, accessories and medicinal items, weaponry, spiritual trinkets, coin. Ah, here's fellowship. Ah, yes. And I love these checklists. Love it. Special improvements, theme kits, and holy hell, look at that art. How to play with the action and drama. So here's the game elements, the story tags, the statuses, and limits. Story tags, impermanent tags that describe items, resources, and allies received during the game. Statuses are special tags that describe temporary conditions and have a tier between 1 and 6. This is like Powered by the Apocalypse coded, depending on the game, I suppose. But yeah, some Powered by the Apocalypse games, it's kind of like your health is statuses. When you max out the statuses, you're cooked. Then limits, the maximum tier of a status a hero or challenge can take before being overcome or before something dramatic happens. So that's just like, yeah, your max, how many statuses you can take. Avatar does this. I think Masks also does this. Here's our game loop, which we really like. You're gonna establish the scene essentially, you're gonna take action, and there's consequences. Yeah, that's, I wonder if they stole this from Turk at the Grouch Couch. Here's the challenges that stand in your way, and then just describing your action. You're not limited to any predetermined set of actions, but you must stay true to the inherent logic of the story. Just like in a legend, your hero can insult a rival, throw a spear at a monster, kiss a loved one, etc. And then you would just take those tags. That's going to add, you know, pluses and minuses. And you have your Powered by the Apocalypse coded resolution system here. If you have a 6 and below, consequences, as in simple action, no success. 9 to 7 is success and consequences, and as in a simple action. And then 10 plus is a success, as in simple action, no consequences. That was for the quick way. Here's the simple way, and here's the detailed way. Detailed way, probably gonna be the main one that we would think of, where yeah, you're gonna add or scratch a tag, no consequences on the 10 plus. 9 to 7, probably gonna be where you're living for the most part. You still have everything from 10 plus, but you also have consequences, as in a simple action. They start getting into these like indirect tags. I don't quite have my head wrapped around that yet, but you will see that there's numbers next to these. Initially, I was thinking that was a negative. It's like, so here, invigorated -2. It's not a negative because it is green too, so that was kind of weird. That's like at the level of 2. So for example, if you're like wounded 5, that's going to fill the 5th slot on wounded 5. And this is probably going to be explained later. If you get wounded 2, that fills the 2 slot. If you get wounded 2 again, wounded 2 is taken up. So it's going to go to wounded 3. And I know there is like a trade-off too, where you can like burn tags to like increase your power and stuff. I don't know that I've seen that specific part in the book yet, and there's really cool examples in here. Drawing more power, it's probably that. More examples on consequences, the type of consequences. Always keep in mind that, you know, death doesn't always have to be the answer. Also, I feel like nothing should ever happen, like something should always happen. And then we have our reactions. So when you take consequences, the narrator may allow you to roll to react to them and possibly lessen their effects. One lesson that I learned from Powered by the Apocalypse in my challenge, my journey, my spirit journey, I think it was by John Harper. There was an article I read where basically it was just talking about like hard moves and soft moves. It's kind of like this. A soft move is setting up that something bad is going to happen, and then the hard move is delivering on it if you do not take the proper action, or if you just failed the action. Story tags, to my understanding, these are the temporary tags that just come up throughout the story. Other games have used stuff like this, whether it's in the landscape. I don't know if I'd say these little leaves are like necessary for this. I mean, you could probably use an index card. Statuses, all different kinds of statuses, and I love that they gave a bunch of lists here. So wounded, parrying, blinded for combat, but then also for like social and emotional, respected, convinced, environmental, burning, drowning, foggy. I like that. Limits, it's usually between 1 and 6 of how much they can take of a given status. I believe 5 is the default, and then once you take a 6, then you're done. I think 5, you can't like act anymore. So like if it's physical, you're like incapacitated, I guess. But then at 6, you're like dead or radically changed. A lot of really cool examples here. I'm not gonna, because I know this is gonna be a long video, but this probably goes into might a little better. Yeah, using might in action. So the narrator can decide to compare the hero's might with the might required for the action in the relevant aspect. If the 2 might levels match, the hero is neither imperiled nor favored. Your hero is imperiled when they try a task beyond their might. Your hero is favored when they try a task below their might. So I think this feels a little bit like Blades in the Dark. So limited effect, standard effect, and great effect. Kind of feels like that a little bit. Got rules for camping and sojourns. I dig that. When you rest, that's when your statuses expire. You can reflect and improve. You got things you can do at camp, crafting, having conversations. That's how your character develops. So you can like improve your theme. I believe your theme can also like kind of change and evolve over time here depending on what's going on in the story. And here are some examples of evolve themes. So it looks like, for example, the trait strong as an ox is becoming a prodigious ability, the Dalish strongman. So you start by using your strength to help others, but here you're going to clear the wanderlands of bandits and wild beasts. It's just kind of like a narrative upgrade. I don't think balance is really a huge issue with this game because of just the way it works. Like every tag that you have, just it adds or reduces. When you roll your 2d6, like let's say I roll 2d6 right now, I have 3 positive tags and 1 negative tag. That would be a difference of 2, so I would add 2 to this. Oh, that's a good roll. So that's actually a 12. Hell yeah, that would be an exceptional success. And then we have the Secrets of Magic. Look at that art. We go into the fundamentals of magic, which magic I don't really have a good understanding on if it's really that different from just the normal game, mechanically anyways. But we will briefly go over like the types of magic that are here and what makes them different. So we have alchemy and herbalism. There's support there for that. Fey patronage, land shaping, runic invocation, shape-shifting, sorcery, spirit binding, witchcraft. I think that's the last one. And that brings us to this sweet glossary that's in the back here. I don't think there's anything else of note in here other than, oh, we have an example of play, which is cool. Here are our hero cards and fellowship cards and theme cards. Very cool. And then our tracking cards, which, although adorable, I would say largely unnecessary. We'll kind of rush through these other books because that was quite a bit, but as I reviewed them initially, most of my time was spent there. So here is the GM book. How to narrate your role, the satchel of perils that has challenges and stuff, and then the appendices that have oracles in the back. So this is where the solo stuff is. Okay, so how to narrate in a nutshell. We have, similar to the Heroes book, here's another spread to help you. And I would like to think this also helps. Notice there's some overlap here that was in the other book, like establish the scene, taking action, consequences. But yeah, this is almost like a GM screen, or what you'd probably expect to be on the GM screen. A lot of good stuff here. I don't think we gotta spend too much time. It talks a lot about scenes, establishing a scene, the game loop of a scene, creating story tags, all stuff that I think is good but not required to get moving, to get some momentum. Introducing challenges, choosing challenges in might, making threats. I believe fronts are also mentioned in here too. Resolving an action, delivering consequences. So we got a taste of a lot of this already in the Heroes book. This is just giving you more support. Wrapping up a scene and then giving out awards, and then here's a bunch of tags for magical items, perks and favors. Adjusting the difficulty, very interesting. Some companions. And then designing adventures in series. Very cool. Really like this example adventure, and this kind of gives you an idea as to how things could work and the flow of the story. And yeah, there's a bunch of these. Here's another one with a mountain. A lot of cool examples. Now we're jumping right into the Magic Cauldron. This gives you support for magic, ways of magic, overarching magic rules, ways to use magic in your game, brewing your own magical ways, which I love that. Here's some ideas for more ways of magic. Very cool. And then using them within challenges. Now this is the Satchel of Perils, where we get into challenges. Not every NPC is a challenge. And then here's a challenge shorthand, which I appreciate that so much. The prince is beguiled 4 and won't listen to any ill talk about the wizard. Quick outcome. The hefty oak door is barricaded 2, and it will not be easy to break down. 4. People of the village are upset 3 and carrying pitchforks. The situation boils over, they will attack and injure the imp and anyone protecting them wounded 2. I love how this is laid out. I love the highlighting. They're doing everything they can to help you get into their style of game. Some challenge profiles here. Go into the journeys and the vignettes of the journeys, which I love that. More about creating your own challenges, and then we're going into all these different NPCs, and I think this is where the locations and occasions and all this stuff starts coming up, like this harvest festival, the hamlet. And this is going to show you stuff that could be there, the windswept farmlands, and all these little tags and consequences you can use. Got NPCs like these dog boys, grabbing gnome and a shrewd merchant, lawless roadway, you get the idea. Treacherous waters, forlorn ruins, battle at the gates, the desolate wasteland, crafting. This is while you're on a journey. Ritual, so this being an undertaking. Support for locks and traps and mishaps. Skipped right over the Skunk Glen adventure, and then that brings us to the appendices for they give you some adventure ideas for the different types of games that you could play within this, or the recommended ones. There's a couple little maps, all of the Kickstarter backers, and then finally, after all of that, you get to the oracles for solo and co-op play. Give you some support here on how to use this. Again, how to set up a scene, how to take action, consequences, and how to do that solo or co-op. And then we have our interpretive question oracle with symbols and interpretations, as well as this one that it has attitude, magical being, terrain feature, and then an everyday item. A conflict oracle to show scene 1, scene 2, things that could happen. Further expanded conflict oracle, pre-made profile oracle, vignettes, dig that. And yeah, just further support for that. Revelations oracle, more consequences oracle, okay. And then we have challenge by reading, and then the challenge profile here in the back. Now, the oracles for solo play, I'm not really blown away by that. We'll see how I feel about it in play. I'm definitely going to start by using that first and just see where I feel like there are some pitfalls, but I have a feeling I'm going to need more than what's there. And then finally we have the Action Grimoire, which the reason why I bought this is because I felt like I needed every little helping hand that I could get. And the point of this book, I took so many notes and I've looked at almost none of them just because of how handy the book is. But it's gonna bridge the gap for people that are really used to like rules heavier systems than, you know, a narrative game like this, which I think it actually says right over here. This is gonna help you. This is gonna help you if you're used to Savage Worlds, Forbidden Lands, Dragonbane, etc. Any of those type of games, more of a, is that trad, or is that what they're calling it, trad games? This is going to help bridge the gap. And what this is going to do is this is going to take a lot of the tags and the narrative way of doing things with this game, and it's going to weaponize it in a way that maybe you're more used to seeing. So, and it gives you huge lists of consequences. So this way you're not just like pulling things out of thin air all the time, which I think for me is where I get very like exhausted. This has happened to me in Powered by the Apocalypse, Blades in the Dark, those type of games where I'm just like, when they constantly have success but with consequences, you almost always have to keep thinking of things all the time. Ideally, the story like makes that natural, but sometimes if you just, you know, didn't set her up correctly with that soft move and a hard move like you should, it can become really exhausting. So yeah, this gives you support on, we've got direct attacks, area attacks, precision attacks, restraining an opponent, tactical attacks, and like you notice they're showing like power, success, consequences for all of this. You've got like the tags up top, so like disabling a limb, support in battle, assuming a battle stance, assisting an ally. Really happy they have something like that. Improvising weapons, movement, forcing an opponent to move, pushing or pulling, throwing, treating, dodging attack by flying away, lead the attack around you, battle defense, crafting, harvesting ingredients, crafting and tinkering, sabotaging, gathering information. This is a big one, falling under cunning, researching, searching around, spying, thievery and skullduggery, picking a lock, busting down a door, blast through a wall. We got exploration and survival. Survival in the wild, animal kinship, losing a tail, living off the land, navigating danger, scouting and guarding, recovery and healing. We have the art of magic, like dispelling magic, magical rituals, resisting magic, making a magical discovery, warding, sensing magic, conjured creatures, banishing them, magical crafting, like brewing a sleep potion, for example. And notice I'm kind of going through these like rapid fire just to show you like, because I don't know like how sexy this is to just have like a list, like a book full of examples. But like, let's say engraving runes onto a wooden staff. Let's say you have success, you create a story tag or a theme representing the item and its abilities, such as a cloak of shadow. So in this case, we did engrave the runes on the wooden staff. Actually, it'd probably be this, bestowing an existing item with story tags, representing new qualities like adding fire resistant, blazing light, or a chain shirt. Cool. And then there can be consequences. In this case, wasting time, breaking stuff, unintended magical qualities, or you have an accident while crafting. You become poisoned, like if it's alchemy, or slow, drained. Using your magical abilities, social interaction, very cool, social limits, social statuses, commerce and trade, selling goods, gathering support and resources, competitions within the community, social gatherings and leadership. I think you get the idea. Fellowship preparations. I love this art, man. The art is so good in this. Okay, and this is the main thing that I want to show you in this book, which is an Action Grimoire Index. So you can really just come back here, you have something in mind, you're looking for something, and this gives you like an Action Grimoire entry, its effects, and then the pages. So like, let's say for example, I'm looking for persuasion. Okay, I'm looking for persuasion. It's probably way back here. Oh, it's way back here. Persuade, persuasion, quick, enhance, influence are the effects, and then you go to page 84. Go to page 84, and this is how I imagine this being actually used in play. Oh yes, persuasion. These are the things we can use it for, and then here's some support for that. And I think that is pretty much it. Yeah, that is it. 100 action suggestions. Battle, crafting, cunning, exploration, survival, magic, and social interaction. So that is Legend in the Mist. This will be another journey for me for sure. Can I overcome the obstacles? So I have it physically, that being the big obstacle for me. The City of Mist in the past I always struggled with, but I never got it physically because I felt like it was kind of expensive for something that I feel like I didn't even know if I liked. I feel like this I could get at a reasonable price, more likelihood to get someone to play in this type of setting in my opinion. I don't know, I think I can really do a lot of fun stuff with this if I can really embrace it and wrap my head around it. So let me know your thoughts on Legend in the Mist. Is this your jam? Is this something you've been excited for, or you just couldn't care less about Legend in the Mist? I'm curious your thoughts, and I'm also curious your thoughts on ways to hack this, because it feels like it would be very hackable. Like, why do I even need their other books? Couldn't I just hack this? And I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to understand it first. But at a glance, it feels like that's what you could do. You would just cyberpunk this and make it their other scape. But yeah, really cool stuff. Looking forward to digging into it. I think I could fall in love with this. I think so, if I can just get over that initial resistance. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe to all the fun YouTube things, and I will see you in the next one as we continue to explore the sacred art of gaming together.